This panel on the road screen is quite famous in these parts because there's a boy, a child actually, called William, who was a Christian, but he was crucified because he was accused of killing someone, basically. But the real story behind it that people are interested in is because he was a Christian and the people who actually crucified him were Jews. And so some people tried to make a big thing of that because Christ, of course, was a Jew. But really, there are one or two or three churches around Norfolk with stories of William, who was, I think he was, I don't know when he was sainted, but he died in 1144, but he was declared a saint. But some people say that the story behind it is not actually true, but of course we'll never know, will we?
I ask the viewer to kind of give this woman the benefit of the doubt. She is not a religious expert. She's giving a history tour of the Loddon Church with its famous portrait of William of Norwich, and she doesn't really understand that the modern consensus, even amongst historians and Christians in the local area, is that William of Norwich was either murdered by a pedophile or that he was possibly killed by accident by his parents in a religious frenzy. One, because he was found with no pants on in the case of the pedophile, and two, because his mother mentioned to all of the monks in the monastery that, oh, my son is going to be a famous religious martyr one day. And William at that time was still alive. So it's very convenient that the Jews were blamed because they were the largest, newest influence in Norwich, which at the time was the largest center of civilization and political power in England. It was the most important part on the island. And this would later change during the Black Death, but you can see how being an important martyr here would affect the politics of the entire island. The fact that I go into this in another video, but it drummed up a lot of support for a new pilgrimage to Norwich, and a lot of folkloric magic played a very important role in this. Here we're walking through the church now in Loddon, and if you look around, you can see what's called witching marks. These, for example, this is just a windmill, but this is the people's history of England. This is just people who are going to church drawing this, most likely children. But this is another symbol. I believe it's W, to ward off witches. A lot of times, if you name something, it wards it off in folkloric magic. And I know it's not a maker's mark because this is present in nearly every church on the British Isles. This could more likely be a maker's mark, but it's similar to a swastika. And these are all involved with warding off evil spirits. Another witching mark, a W. And if you look down here, you can see a beautiful circle, which is, they believed that the devil would get caught in the edges of a circle. And this is a textbook flower of life, and it's a Buddhist symbol which was adopted in medieval England. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, at this point in history, England was in political and social turmoil. People were reaching out to folkloric beliefs. This was not necessarily a Christian belief. It was a expression of feudal terror and horror at what the world was becoming around them, and they were turning to more or less folk magic and backwards folkloric beliefs to justify their actions in persecuting a group of people.
And I think you were saying earlier it was interesting you said it was almost the opposite of Jesus because Jesus was a Jew being crucified
That's right. That's why they tried to make more of it, because here was a Christian being crucified. I mean, obviously Jesus wasn't crucified by Christians because that's silly. But he was crucified by a group of Jews. That was the thing. And so he was a Christian martyr, really, in a way.